7:01, I'm going to start this meeting. This is the agenda for the regular special meeting of the Committee of the Whole on May 13th. For those who are in attendance online, please be aware that our meetings are recorded for public viewing, placed on a publicly available website. I'll also acknowledge that we are here and have we have gratitude for being able to live, work, and play on the unceded First Nations land of Ihatasat Chiniki territory. So I've called the meeting to order. If I could get someone to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Deck, I see your hand up. I think you might have to unmute. Oh, and maybe we do have a technical difficulty. Because I do see his hand up.
Did you can speak and
Councillor Jack, did you maybe want to leave the meeting and then come back in and see if that helps? Not sure if you can hear us or not.
Nope, he did. He's gone.
No.
Nope.
No, there he is.
Oh, he's on hold. I'm not sure.
make a presenter? Go down and make a presenter.
Hi, Councillor Deck. Can you try to speak to us again? Maybe that will help. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody wants to text him. We will proceed with the meeting though, because we do have quorum. So we just had approval of the agenda. Maybe if I'm going to make a motion that we vary the agenda and move the delegations and petitions, so 5.1 to just after the approval of the agenda, so that we can get these folks on their way. So,
second.
Approval of the agenda. Thank you. Perfect. So as amended for the agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that's carried. So we'll do the delegations first. We don't have to do the minutes. Okay, so I'm going to pass this over to the CAO that he may present our delegates for this evening. That's okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome, Chan Nosad Boats. We have our main auditor with us, Lucien Maurice, and we also have Derek Lamb, partner with Chan Nosad Boats, to walk us through the 2024 audit and financial statements.
Thank you so much for being here. In the room here today, to my left, we have Councillor Copeland. To my right, we have Councillor Lewis. Online is Councillor Janice and Councillor Deck. We're just having a little bit of issues there, but we'll try to get him on there.
Perfect.
So go ahead whenever you're ready. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much for the opportunity to work with yourselves in the village. And I want to thank, on behalf of myself, Lucien, and Gabby Martin from CNB, Pete and Alana for all their help with the audit. It's done on time, and it's been done for a few weeks now. So again, a big thank you to them before starting. Again, my name is Derek Lamb. I'm a partner at CNB. Lucien Maurice was the audit manager. Gabby Martin, who's a partner on the engagement as well, or primary partner. I apologize. She just had her second child, so she's off on mat leave, but you get me instead. So we'll quickly go through the audit. My goal is to take you through the audit findings report, which is a summary document of the audit. It's just intended to provide those charged with governance a Coles note or summary version of the audit. And then Lucien will take you quickly through the audited financial statements. If there's any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask them. So on the screen here, you should see the audit findings report. The status of the audit as of today is pending. We'll issue it pending your approval of it. We do require a motion to approve it, and then as well as obtaining some signatures from Pete on the management representation letter. For your audit, and for the village, the biggest sort of items for us, it was not a complicated year for the audit. It was straightforward. Last year was a unique year for all municipalities, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But sort of one of the biggest items for us, for any municipality, is tangible capital assets, specifically money that's spent on projects or specific assets that will have a life of beyond 1 year and provide benefit to the community. Sometimes it's really easy to audit them, like the Ford F550 four-wheel drive dump truck. That's pretty straightforward. You bought a truck, we look at the invoice, done. Other items like slope hazard mitigation project, we're looking at that to see, hey, does that provide future benefit to the community? Should this be expensed as sort of repairs and maintenance, or is there a future benefit associated with it? Is the geotech work that's being done, or is other work that's being done provide future benefit? And so that area is an area where there's a bit more review and judgment. And so for when we do the capital addition test, and we're looking at not just, hey, is there an invoice for this, but also is there a future benefit with this, or should this be repairs and maintenance in a more sort of concise way of looking at it? The big items this year, the village had significant capital additions of 880,000 approximately. The biggest one, of course, was the slope mitigation project. You spent $646,000 on it. The total cost of it was $735,000. There's also the pickup truck, the dump truck mentioned for 148,000 purchased, as well as electrical cabinet construction. And so we feel very comfortable that not only are those amounts reported accurately, but the items that clearly provide future benefit to the community and the residents of the village of Zeballos. The next really big item on your financial statements, and this is more of an accounting item, but I'll certainly try and explain it in a way that isn't just accounting speak, is last year all municipalities, all First Nations, anybody that reports under public sector accounting standards, school districts, had to adopt public sector accounting standards 3280. So asset retirement obligations. And sort of what this meant for yourself, or how it impacts yourselves, is that the village had to go through an exercise of looking at its assets and saying, hey, do any of these have legal requirements for future demolition cost or for future remediation costs? And what that means is you couldn't get around it. There's actually a legal requirement to take care and remove the asbestos. You can't just knock over the building. And so asbestos in all the municipalities that we work with is always sort of the biggest one, whether it's asbestos pipes, whether it's asbestos in buildings. And so the village went through a project of, hey, what assets do we own, and do they have asbestos in them? Is there underground oil tanks buried that we have to worry about? And came up with an estimate for future retirement cost. The big thing, and why this is big for our audit, is that it's an estimate. It's not black and white. With the dump truck, we could point to an invoice and say, hey, this is the number. We know you bought the dump truck. We see it black and white. In this case, it's an estimate. And so it's not precise. It's a best estimate, and we use the information that's provided to us by management and assess that estimate. So last year, the village set up a liability, or essentially a payable, of approximately $1 million. So saying that you have costs or future costs that approximate $1 million. And we review that as part of the audit. We said, hey, that makes sense based off of the information you provided us. It could be 1.1, it could be 800, but it's an estimate, and based off of the information we have, it's a reasonable estimate. So that's done. You probably won't hear much more about this going forward, but I want to stress this because there is one change to this year. So going forward for every audit, what we're going to do is speak with the team at the village and say, hey, has that building been demolished? Maybe some work's been done to remove asbestos. Maybe you've removed some asbestos pipe. There's one community we worked with where they did further work and identified that the actual cost of removal was far less because there was far less asbestos than what they thought. So our job going forward from 2023 is every year to discuss it with management and say, hey, has there been any changes? Is there anything, should this liability or payable go up or down? And we did that with management this year and feel comfortable that there's been no significant changes. The only change to the number that you'll see is every year it'll be adjusted for inflation. So the costs that were originally estimated in 2023 will be adjusted for inflation every year, which this year was approximately 2.4%, was a CPI index increase in 2024. So there was an additional $24,000 added to the liability. Again, this is not a cash expense. This is not you guys having to spend this money tomorrow. Practically, it will probably won't be spent for 30, 40, 50, 100 years. But the standard requires that you set up this liability so that users of the financial statements, your community members know, hey, we have assets with these estimated future removal costs. And so I've talked a lot about this item, but it's a very big item. It shows as a $1 million liability on your financial statements. And it's one that you'll see every year going forward. In terms of significant accounting policies and practices, there's no changes in them. We found no reason which to disagree with any of the estimates provided to us by management, and feel that your financial statements and notes are reasonably complete and accurate in terms of note disclosures. For the audit, what we do, we're guided by Canadian audit standards, and Canadian audit standards, when we're doing audit, the idea of an audit is not to be precise. It's to do a sample and say, hey, the sample is representative of the entire population. And so part of that is we set something called a posting threshold, and that's sort of the number that you see on the screen there. The $2,850 is a number that we are provided guidance on how to get to. And for your audit, what we're saying with this number is that any accounting error under $2,850, we didn't bother asking Pete or Lana to correct. We said, hey, listen, it's an accounting error. We'll move on. It's not worth the time to further investigate $1,000 error in insurance. Now, when I say an error, I mean an accounting error, not anything to do with fraud or theft. I mean just simply, hey, maybe 1 year of insurance was bought and it was all expensed instead of setting up as an asset for that year. For fraud and theft, there's no concept of materiality. If it's $5 or $100, it's brought forward. So just sort of a key item here is our sort of audit thresholds. And the big item, the $57,000 number that you see there, that represents, let's say you guys bought a truck and you want to expense the truck, and the truck was $40,000. We would say, hey, you can't expense that truck. Accounting standards say that it has future benefit. You would say, hey, you might say, we want to expense the truck. We'd say, okay, well, we're going to say that you can't do it, but because it's below our materiality, we'll allow it with a clean audit opinion, but we'll tell you in a letter that what you're doing is not correct. And so that's what that $57,000 represents there. The last item I'll talk about here before handing it off to Lucien is when we do your audit, we also look at controls. So it's not just auditing the numbers and saying, hey, show us these 10 invoices, or hey, is this estimate reasonable? It's also going through and saying, is there a review of payroll? Is there a review of, are there employment contracts when employees are hired? Is there a review of the bank reconciliations on a monthly basis? And the reason we look at this is that if there's no controls in place, there's a lot more risk for us as auditors. And so that means that we have to do more work. So that's the reason why we look at controls and why it's part of your audit. When we did do the audit, there were items where we're saying, hey, controls could be operating a bit better. We call these control deficiencies. For your community and for a lot of small communities, though, it's very hard. You only have so much capacity. And so we have in this letter, or as an appendices to this letter, and I won't go through it unless asked, have some control deficiencies that we identified and have made recommendations on improvements of them. But they're just that. They're just recommendations. We fully realize that you guys are limited. Segregations of duties is a very challenging thing to have when you have a few staff members. So they are best practice recommendations, but they're by no means, they're just that. They're nothing more than that. So that's it for the audit findings report. Are there any questions on that before I throw it over to Lucien?
Questions from council? Not seeing any.
Great.
Anything? No. I had one, but it was probably a little more internal, and it was on one of those other significant, the appendix B of the significant internal controls.
Yeah.
And I had just highlighted, it was just a question to staff is if we were including like parking or GST and parking or anything like that. So just something to highlight. I don't need the answer today. I know that going forward, that might be something you may consider internally as staff or not as recommendation from them. So that was really all just to staff. So yeah, feel free to carry on.
Okay. I'll let you take it away, Lucian.
Excellent. Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Very nice to see you again, Julie, and thank you for having me. I'll just go through at a high level just the financial statements as at December 31st, 2024. If you guys have any comments or questions or anything, just feel free to interrupt me and stop me, and I'll be able to go through it. I'll just start off with our independent auditor's report, our auditor's opinion, specifically the paragraph here. In our opinion, the village's financial statements fairly present in all material respects the financial position of the village as at December 31st, 2024. So as in line with last year, this is a clean audit opinion. So what this pretty much means is during our audit procedures for the year, we identified no matters that would materially alter the decision-making of mayor and council in respects to the financial statements as at December 31st, 2024. And so the statement of financial position, otherwise known as the balance sheet of the village, I'll just start at the bottom here with accumulated surplus. So accumulated surplus did increase during the year by approximately 370K. So the analogy that we like to have for accumulated surplus is over all the years, if the village kind of pooled the excess funds into one area, excess revenues over expenditures, this would kind of be the line item here. So it is, we've seen an increase of 370K. This is solely due to net income during the period, which we can get into in the next statement here. So some of the notable changes you may see here, there's a decrease of 650K in cash, primarily relates to the 878K in capital asset purchases during the year, as mentioned by Derek in his capital assets slide. There's also a slight increase, 70K in AR. That was primarily due to GST ITC's increases because during the end of the year, there's lots of capital asset purchases that had GST ITCs on them more than last year. So we see an increase there. Again, increase of AP 180K, primarily relating to those increase in construction invoices that just came in at December that haven't been paid yet. Deferred revenue, you can see deferred revenue actually decreased here by 450K. 350K of that relates to the rockfall mitigation funds that were used up during the period as that project was wrapped up late in December, as well as other smaller amounts used up during the year, fire protection amounts and so forth. We can move down to the income statement here. So as you can see, there's that annual surplus of 370K. Comparing revenues during the year, taxation revenues up slightly, but pretty comparable. So as the utilities, user fees, interest income increased, primarily due to the increase of interest during the year, and also the main driver of this increase here is the increase in government grants and transfers, which are presented on Schedule 1. As you can see here, there was quite a large increase in expenditures during the year, approximately $500,000. And that primarily relates to all of the busy projects that the village has been implementing during the year, specifically 150K increase in repairs and maintenance due to the Pandora Slough culvert replacement, as well as old garbage vehicle repairs. There's also a 120 120K increase that we could see in subcontract expenses, primarily relating to Lot 501 feasibility study expenses, such as environmental assessments that were performed, as well as the housing needs study. There's also 160K increase in grant-related expenditures. Nothing too large, but there is it was spread out during over a large number of grant expenditures that were incurred during the year, specifically 40K for the Indigenous engagement requirement, 30K for the official community plan, as well as approximately 20K in emergency management upgrades. So statement in net financial assets. So significant changes that we can see during the year. The village acquired a lot more capital asset purchases during the year. That notable one being the 670K for the rockfall mitigation project. Amortization was pretty comparable as compared to the prior year. And as Derek mentioned, the asset retirement obligation, there's that 1 million recognized last year, and then just the small little CPI increase this year. So this is cash flows from operating activities. This pretty much just sums up the changes in cash flows during the year. As you can see, one of the primary cash outflows, as discussed before, was just that 808K in capital asset purchases. Yeah, as well as it looks like some significant investments were purchased during the prior year. Not so much this year. Just moving on to the notes to the financial statements, there's nothing really significant in terms of changes in any notes or any new notes that we can note of. It was, as you can see here, with that unearned revenue, the flood mitigation, rockfall mitigation project, you guys had 350K of deferred revenue in the prior year for flood mitigation, and those funds were all used up as the rockfall was constructed, completed at the end of December. So just going on, all standard notes here. I could just touch up on some of the final schedules here. So this was at government grants and transfers. You can see that increase in government grants here. The big ones during the year was the 140K to remain compliant with the new BC housing legislation, and REDIP funds of 80K for the Lot 501 feasibility study, which some costs have been incurred during the year, specifically for environmental assessments. Moving on to Schedule 2, this is just the combined statement of operations by segment. This is just the prior statement. Going on to the current year statement, we see that 370K of excess revenues of deficiencies here. And it pretty much just categorizes each category of revenue and expenditures that were incurred during the year. As you can see, there's an increase in goods and services, and then there's that increase in government grants. Reserve fund transactions. So these were the reserve transfer activities during the year. As you can see, there's 3 new statutory reserves. These statutory reserves were created through the reserve bylaw actually last year in the fiscal year. However, no funds were transferred into them, so these weren't presented on the financial statements last year. However, funds were transferred into them this year. Specifically, there are 15K for the foreshore improvement, 20K for the wastewater collection treatment, and 20K for the water treatment and distribution. And as you can see here in this interest earned column, pretty much what this column indicates is any interest earned on MFA securities funds, or the GICs. That interest gets shared proportionally for each reserve fund at the end of the year. So, and just sorry.
Sorry, I was just clarifying the acronym of MFA. That's all.
Oh,
sorry about that sidebar.
No, not a problem. Just some of the final schedules here. Just the COVID Safe Restart grant. funds used during the year were 16K, specifically for mobile home park repairs and just some smaller repair items. And the last statement here, the Growing Communities Fund. This fund, this kind of statement here is required to be presented, and eligible costs during the year were primarily that purchase of the Pandora Slough culvert, as well as some funds that were used in excess of the existing funding received from REDIP for the Lot 501 feasibility study at 15K, as well as some overflow parking expenditures and some campsite expenditures. So that pretty much sums up the analysis of the financial statements. Was there anything in particular that you wanted to perhaps go over, or any comments or questions or concerns?
And I would put that through to council. It's open for comments, questions. I'm not seeing any at this point. I see a lot of head shaking actually, as if, that we're, thanking you for your time, first of all, coming to our council meeting this evening and presenting to us. It all seems fairly standard and as if things have been gone through with our staff very well. So thank you to our staff and as well to you folks. So not seeing anybody's hand flailing wildly, I think we can just let you go with our thanks, and then we'll see you next year essentially. Or if there's anything that our CAO or our WCAO need from you, then they know your numbers to call.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having us, and have a great evening.
Thank you so much
Yes,
for being
thank
so
you.
thorough with your presentation.
Bye.
Have a good
Yeah,
night.
thank you very much.
Perfect. So do we need a motion to approve the financial or the audit findings?
Yes, we do.
So I would take a motion from someone to approve the audit findings from Zeballos for 2025 or 2024. I could just make a motion to approve the financial findings from the audit findings from Zeballos for 2024.
Second that.
Questions, comments from anyone? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you so much for getting through that.
Thank you.
They are thorough, aren't they? Okay, folks, so then we are at minutes. So we do the adoption of minutes, we'll do them
Motion to
in
adopt,
seriatim.
motion to adopt minutes of April 22nd, 2025, regular council meeting.
Second?
Thank you, sir, for that, Councillor Deck. Errors, omissions, questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Next.
Motion to adopt the minutes of April 24th, 2025, special council meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That again is carried. We've got some business arising from the minutes. So we're on item 4.1. Anybody wants to
Leave the room.
declare conflict. Declare conflict is the proper, yeah.
Oh, what?
Declare a conflict.
Declare conflict.
And then we'll, if you just close the door behind you, we'll come back, we'll come get you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm gonna pass that on to CAO Pete Nelson-Smith for anything further or comments or anything.
Nothing further unless council has questions about the report.
Okay. So then on to council. Questions or comments, please? Hearing none. I did have one question. So what we're looking for is essentially a motion to approve, but are we looking for specific comments?
From speaking with the representative from the BC Cannabis Liquor Distribution Branch,
Yeah,
they want to ensure that the public has had an opportunity to comment.
Yeah.
So as you can see in the reports, given the council meetings that we've had, that is an opportunity for their input. And then now is council's opportunity, if you've heard anything on the streets about it, to provide comment back to the Liquor and Cannabis Distribution Board on the approval of this liquor license.
so then, so anecdotally, we could insert something in there and at a previous soft opening fundraiser of their establishment, the community feedback was well received or something like that. And I don't know that we could do that because I don't have there's no data to prove that.
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking about that anecdotal, if that was something they were looking for, if it was something that you would suggest to put in it or not.
If nothing formal has come forward, then I wouldn't.
Okay.
Wouldn't include it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Councillor Deck.
Thank you, Mayor. Believe it or not, people still stop me and talk to me on the street. And I've heard nothing but positive comments about a restaurant with a liquor license opening up, because we have nothing. And this would be something. Thank you.
And I think we can all agree on that. How you want to word that though in our response, I think that if that was included, I would be in favor of that, absolutely. But how you would like to do that in professional, I'm just asking for advice here, yeah.
So council could make a motion, I just need to word it in my head, that given the positive community feedback that has been heard, council is in favor of approving.
I would like to make that motion.
Members of council have received,
It's not written down there.
yeah, required views of residents, how those views were gathered. Notice of meeting, council's chosen closing benefits, recommendations. So, that, we are absolutely we are in favor of the, liquor license being obtained. Liquor license. Sorry, I'm wordsmithing here, just so that we have something. So this is kind of what I have. Does this work? That given the positive community feedback members of council have received, that council is in favor of a liquor license being obtained.
Sounds good.
And are they asking, so that was that a second, or was that?
Sure.
Because Councillor Deck, that was what you wanted to move, Councillor Deck?
Please.
Okay, and then so Councillor Lewis is a second. So will you put that in a letter and say that these are how we have come, that we have, public opinion has been allowed to be had because of all the things that you've put in your report?
So
They have a comment section in their application.
what will happen is they will take my staff report, and then I will do, if this resolution passes, I will do an official resolution from council and pass that forward.
Okay, perfect. So do we want to add that, given the report from the CAO and the positive community feedback we have received, that we are in favor of the liquor, because then that includes your report? and all the points made in that?
I think it's okay just to leave it as motioned. Yeah, they'll be receiving the report anyway. so,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, I just wanted to make sure that they had the information they need, that they know that we've seen this and we've checked all these boxes, and that, you know, the impact on community will be positive. I also think that having something at a location that has already had a liquor license, that is already, all of those kinds of things need to be put out there for them. This is not like it's a brand new thing. This is a establishment that has been closed for quite some time. There was a liquor license in there. There is no fear with the timing or anything, as you say in your report, and that community is really looking forward to having, this asset. So, yeah. Okay, so that was the motion then, is that given the positive community feedback, members of council have received that council is in favor of liquor license being obtained at address, whatever it is.
136 Maquinna Avenue.
Thank you. 136 Maquinna. So I'm going to call the question in that. If there's nothing else, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, all that's carried.
So they let them back in?
Yeah. There's your motion, sir.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Was there no solution on that because we didn't need one?
Back in, just remember to not misbehave again. We don't have to-
No, it was left open because
We didn't know what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, I appreciate that. Okay, so, thank you for calling the member back in. So that one, we are now on item 6, correspondence, which there's nothing, reports is next, nothing. On to bylaws, we've got 5-year financial plan for final reading and adoption. Did you have anything else to say about that, CAO Nelson Smith?
No, nothing further, thank you.
Okay.
Read the recommendation. Recommend that the village of Zeballos 5-year financial plan 2025 to 2029 bylaw 560-2025 be given 4th reading and adopted.
Was that a seconder? Okay, Councillor Copeland seconded that. Thank you for that. Just speak up if you would so we can hear you on camera. Yeah, thank you for that. I think that everything is in here. We've been through this multiple times. We've had lots of time for people to comment on it and nothing has come back. So appreciate it being here. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We are moving on to our tax rate bylaw, which is again a final reading and adoption.
Recommend that the village of Zeballos annual tax rate bylaw 561-2025 be given 4th reading and adopted.
Second.
Perfect, thank you for that. Again, this has been through us multiple times. There is a moderate increase this year and then a plan to go forward. So I appreciate council's consideration of all those things. I did have one question. Oh, does council have any questions? Seeing none, what was going to go in the, can you refresh my memory about what was going to go in those tax notices when they go out? I think there was the parking. I think there was a couple of different things that were supposed to be kind of stuffed into those tax notices when they went out. I don't need an answer right now or anything, but can you remind me when it does happen?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We'll also be outlining council's reasons for the 4% increase on utilities this year and then 5% moving forward.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you for that. I knew there was something else that needed to go in there that didn't have to do with this one, but it's also in the fees and charges, is it not?
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, thank you for that. Anything else from anybody? All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? That is carried. Revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw. Was there anything from staff? This is again another final reading and adoption. So I take the recommendation.
Recommend that revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw number 562-2025 be given fourth reading and adopted.
Do I have a seconder for
Second
that?
that.
Perfect, thank you,
Aye.
Councilor Deck. Questions or comments from anyone? This is just another standard procedure, basically keeping money in the bank until we can pay our bills in case the tax notices are paid. I'm gonna call the question now. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? So that too is carried. And then we are on to fees and charges amendment bylaw.
Recommend that the fees and charges amendment bylaw number 563-2025 be given fourth reading and adopted.
Second.
Perfect. Questions or comments from anyone? Anything from staff? Another one that we've had lots of opportunity to comment on if there were any changes needed to be made. Perfect. I have a question. On page 73, there's a comment about dumpsters per dumpster. Are we doing that for local, or is that in anticipation of, right at the very top? It says dumpsters, 2 picks ups per week. Is that just for our internal systems, or is that somebody having their own?
That's in anticipation if somebody wants their own.
Oh,
We're
perfect.
not necessarily using it, but better to have it in there than to not have it and need it.
That's what I was assuming, but I just wanted to make sure. And that's for local within community, or would that be like anywhere that we serve?
No, only local within community. Unfortunately, our bylaws can't affect outside of our boundaries.
Perfect. Amazing. That was it. Anything else from anybody? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. I'm sorry, I just flipped to my last sheet. I had 2 more questions. I wanted to know what a cottage industry was and if we were going to include the concession and the community hall rentals, but I lost my chance. So there it goes. Where are we on the agenda, folks? I called you all in favor?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Number 10.
In camera,
Motion council go in camera under community charter section 91C, labor relations or other employee relations that council will in camera.
No, there's a gap there. Should be.
that was it. You did it.
Okay.
Employee relations, period. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Janice. Questions or comments? Of course, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That is carried. We don't have any public in the meeting here this evening in council chambers, so there's not a public question period. I take an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Copeland. Questions, comments? All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you for that.